Update. Husband refuses to create boundaries with friend who has feelings for him. Original story. My husband has a female best friend. They've known each other since childhood. It didn't really bother me because I don't think of myself as a jealous person. And I mean, if they were into each other, why not date the years before me? They text, call, and go out together a lot. I never had a problem with it because I haven't been starved of attention or anything. But she and her long-term boyfriend broke up. He went to comfort her and she admitted she always had feelings for him. I'm glad he told me, and I don't want to punish him for that. But they're with each other even more now than before. He says it's because she has more spare time since her breakup. He doesn't try to hide the fact he's texting or calling or going out to see her, so I'm not concerned about an affair. But why can't he create boundaries? Edit. When I asked him to, he told me they've been friends longer than he knew me, which is true. He says their friendship will not change just because she slipped up while heartbroken. I trust him, but I'm very uncomfortable with this. I tell friends or family, but I get a big I told you so. Everybody told me to a sketch she had a female best friend, but I just didn't see it. What do I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Have you asked him to create boundaries? He may still believe that you were just as unbothered as you were before this information came to light. He may not realize that you were now slightly more uncomfortable than you were. Oh my god, I can't believe I left that from the post. Yes, I did ask him to. His response I said in the post, he told me they've been friends longer than he knew me, which is true. He says their friendship will not change just because she slipped up while heartbroken. I trust him, but I'm very uncomfortable with this. So basically, his stance is that he just doesn't want to change anything, is going to pretend like this never happened, but I think some boundaries are necessary. She slipped up? It sounds to me like she settled because she missed her chance with her husband, but then got dumped and decided better late than ever. It could be that she just felt emotional and hurt and alone, and because of that started thinking, this guy's always been nice and here for me, and I keep picking a-holes instead. But he is married. Her confused feelings, reading this in the most benevolent way possible, do not change that fact. What he should be doing is, of course, expressing empathy to her. She is probably hurting pretty bad right now, and who wants to crap on their best friend with her already down? But he should also be saying something like, hey friend, I know you're hurting and I don't want to make things worse, but given what you told me about your feelings, it's not a good idea for us to talk so much or spend so much time together. I'm married. I can't return your feelings, and while I'm always there for you as a friend, we need some space for the time being. It's not going to be good for you to have me around all the time, and my wife comes first. Let's let things settle a little, and we can revisit in a few months. Or at the very least, just tell her he'll call once a day, or every other day, check in on how she's doing. But there can't be the constant conversations and visits anymore. If he refuses to do that, he can go be with her, and then have an emotional affair on her when the next damsel in distress shows up. Since he doesn't want to create boundaries, then you need to create some of your own. Explain to him that you aren't comfortable with this close friendship with her anymore, primarily because she admitted her feelings for him. Tell him that you were fine with her friendship before she spilled beans about her romantic interest in him. Tell him that their continued close friendship makes you insecure. It's important not to admit that, and that you think it's borderline an emotional affair. Tell him that this is a firm boundary for you, and you're not going to stay in a relationship with him if he disrespects your marriage like this. He's obviously going to balk about this boundary, but if it's important to you, then you need to stand firm. He has a choice to make. And now for the update. After I made that post, we had another talk where I asked him to make specific boundaries with her. And again, you're jealous. She's just a friend. So I tried what a comment said. I told him those don't have to be your boundaries with her, but those are mine for you. I managed to get him down to no late night calls. Weekends are only for us, etc. He was dragging his feet, but he obliged, and he was honestly still a bit absent. Then a week later, his tone completely changed. He told me he realized how much he was hurting me, and the whole week was just going to be about the two of us. It didn't just last the week. He's become super attentive since then. Us going out together, flirting like we're in our honeymoon, having the most passionate intimacy you could imagine. I was so caught up in the new him that I forgot about the problem. I'd forgotten I even made this post. Well, yesterday he decided to confess to me that the sudden change of heart was because he had slept with her. Not just that, but unprotected too. We've also been having unprotected acts. I'm such a freaking idiot. At least he's honest. Why did he tell me now, you ask? Because I deserve to know. All this goddamn time later? Thanks, a-hole. I told him he can have her. I don't care anymore. He told me he doesn't want her. Crazy how that works. Supposedly we're going to do marriage counseling. Anybody want to laugh at me for being such an idiot? Edit. Although it doesn't really make a difference, according to his story, it only happened once. I don't think I made it clear enough in the post. It happened right before he completely changed his attitude. He said hooking up with her was a wake-up call for him. Why are you even going to bother to maintain a marriage with this turd man? I don't know you, but you're better than this relationship. I don't even know anymore. I don't think I'm so much better than him at the end of the day, because I'm the dumbass who married him and trusted him. Even with me being annoyed about his female friend, we were still trying to conceive. That's how much I convinced myself she was just a friend. And now that he slept with her, he doesn't want her anymore? A-hole. Thank you, though. I'm the dumbass who married him and trusted him. This mistake can be corrected with a lawyer. I regret that I have but one upvote to give this post. Opie, you are not a dumbass. You were trusting the man you believed would respect your boundaries and not be a prick. He failed you. Please prioritize your self-care. Go get tested. Get a consult with a divorce lawyer. Look into some therapy if you think it might be helpful. You may have access to short-term care on a fairly rapid basis via your workplace employee assistance plan, if applicable, and they might have a referral service for both lawyers and therapists. Definitely consider some very good quality ice cream, or indulgent snack food of choice, or whatever you use for a little pick-me-up. This sort of news would have me face first in a carton of Häagen-Dazs up to my earlobes, so do something to be kind to yourself, is my point. Then dust yourself off and remember that you are worth 1,000 of him. And keep moving forward, one step at a time. Lean on your friends and family. And please feel free to update us or vent if you'd like to. Wishing you the best. You're not an idiot for wanting to trust the one you love, and wanting to feel loved in return. He is the idiot for ruining it. I hope you find happiness you deserve. Don't even bother with him. He gaslit you to think you were jealous. Him being more attentive was him trying to make up for having an affair. And even after this affair, did he still have contact with her? Has she been blocked from everything by him? Is he still friends with her? Though for your sake, whether you do marriage counseling or not, get proof that he cheated with her. He let me go through his phone after. They didn't text at all, but I do have them talking about what happened. He did say it couldn't happen again at least. Afterwards, not as many texts besides them checking on each other. They called a lot though. There were a lot of personal conversations between the two of them that he should have been telling me. Him talking about his dreams, issues with his family, etc. I have to wonder if there's something wrong with me. I've always told him he can tell me anything, that I'd always be there at any time if he ever needed anything. But no. He told me after he felt more comfortable with her because I seemed so strong, so he didn't want to appear weak to me. She was heartbroken from her breakup and had a broken bird appeal. I could have been strong for him, but apparently he didn't want that. He's not still friends with her, but he hasn't blocked her in anything. If we're staying together, I should tell him to though. I haven't been thinking productively, just he's a bastard on loop. If I saw him again, I think I would just black out. I'm so upset still. Next story. Girlfriend's ex is spending the night and I feel betrayed. To give context, my 23 male, girlfriend 21 female, and I have been dating for a few months. Long distance for the short time being. I'll be back home with her in just a few weeks. My girlfriend and her ex broke up just before we met due to them becoming long distance. Are still friends, which I'm mostly fine with. Thing is, he's visiting our hometown soon, and he wants to surprise his family. He asked my girlfriend if he could spend the night at her house because he'll be getting home late and doesn't have a key. She, without consulting me or even thinking about how I would feel about it, said yes and told me after the fact. I got extremely upset and said this was a complete break in boundaries. She said it was well within her boundaries. We've been arguing about it for a couple weeks now on and off. He's getting in town tomorrow and she's done absolutely nothing to fix it. She won't even tell him that she's dating me on the basis that it's none of his business. I feel like everything we've built was completely messed up just by this one thing. I'm at loss as to what to do. Now for the top advice. She shows you and your boundaries zero respect. Dump her. Dump her like yesterday's trash. Imagine if hotels existed. You are so right. And all of this sounds shady too. The fact that she does not want her ex to know that she's dating Opie is a massive red flag. Dump her. Even if she's completely over the ex and nothing will happen, she blatantly disrespected your relationship and your boundaries. You deserve better. This isn't just the right answer. It's the only healthy answer. The boundary crossing is what's important here, because no matter what it is down the road, she'll cross it. Lol, why are you even arguing about this? The fact that you're even entertaining this shows some insufficient level of self-respect. Sounds like me when I was his age, and I thought I had to fight for every girl I was dating, even if they did brain-dead stupid bullcrap like this. Then I grew up and realized I could just walk away from a relationship if it's going this way. Take the advice, OP. You can end the relationship. You aren't contractually obligated to put yourself through hell for some girl. Edit. I genuinely appreciate everyone who commented and gave me their support. It has been eye-opening, as it's extremely easy to be blinded by love and / infatuation. I've decided it's definitely time to cut it off. No changes were made, so I won't be tolerating someone who doesn't respect my boundaries. Thank you all so much. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for denying girlfriend's friend 28 male to live with us? I 27 male work as a police officer. It's a wonderful job, but can be stressful at times. I recently bought a nice apartment that's 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. A girlfriend 26 female of 3 years moved in with me and it's been great. She does split the rent and the cooking / cleaning. My nephew frequently stays with us as the apartment is closer to a school. My girlfriend is very close to one friend, 28 male. He does not like me at all. I've tried to be nice to him, but stopped when he told my girlfriend at a dinner party she could do a lot better than me. She laughed it off and told him to knock it off. Some of her friends think he has a crush on her, but she's made it clear she only likes him as a friend. On to the issue. The same friend recently got evicted from his apartment because he was having trouble paying the rent on time, and he has been living with friends and family since. I got home from a long shift, and my girlfriend was showing the apartment around to her friend group. When the friends left, she wanted to speak to me. We sat down, and she asked if it would be okay if her friend could move into the 3rd bedroom. I thought about it, and told her no. She then proceeded to tell me that she already told him it was okay. That started a huge argument between the two of us, and she left to stay with her parents. My stand on it is that her friend does not like me, is not offering to pay any rent, and I don't want to make my nephew uncomfortable when he stays with us. Am I the a-hole for denying my girlfriend's friend to live with us? Not the a-hole, but your girlfriend is. She is seriously inviting someone who clearly dislikes you and disrespected you with that comment at the dinner party to live rent-free in an apartment you own without even speaking to you? Yikes. There are loads of red flags here, but what bothers me most is her inviting him to live with you without your knowledge, and then leaving you after an argument that should have been a mature discussion between you both about finding a freeloader, roommate, for the 3rd bedroom. At best, she likes the attention this friend gives her. At worst, well, you already know. Not today, Olobi, and don't let this guy move in when he already doesn't respect you. If someone says you could do so much better, they always mean themselves. It is so disrespectful of girlfriend to offer this guy the room. You can't tell me as if she doesn't know that he wants her. Maybe they were FWB all this time. If someone says you could do so much better, they always mean themselves. Not always. I say this to my mother about her verbally and emotionally horrible boyfriend, and I definitely don't mean me. Not the a-hole. Red flag. Moving in anyone is a huge thing, let alone a hostile dude who is romantically interested in her. And who is she to tell him okay? Not her place. Let's not forget that when she didn't get her way, she ran home to mommy daddy. This is probably going to be her MO. Not stay home. Your girlfriend was wrong to 1. Not consider how uncomfortable it would be for you to live with someone you don't get along with. 2. Not ask you first. And 3. Not give any deference to the fact that you own the apartment and she just rents. If he moved in, it would only end badly. Better to have the argument now. Finally, laughing out loud at a homeless guy telling your girlfriend she can do better than you. Last story is titled, Family Suddenly Against Me, 27 Male, Not Wanting Anything to Do with My Ex and Baby, After Finding Out I'm Not the Father. All of it came out a while back. My now ex-girlfriend had a baby girl 3 months ago, and recently I learned I'm not the biological father, and kicked my ex out of my place, told her I never want to see her again. We had a few issues recently, and today, I'm told by my parents and sisters that they don't agree with my not wanting anything to do with the baby, because she's still my daughter. They were fully supportive of me since this all came out. And suddenly, because my ex is online over another issue we had, and now how I'm abandoning a baby girl I still bonded with, they feel that they agree with her. Honestly, I feel so betrayed by this. Like I said, literally a few weeks ago, they were fully supportive of me. Now they want to make me play daddy to a baby that isn't mine with all the pain I'm still experiencing. What do I even do about that? Because now it seems like they have a pretty strong opinion about it. If you're not the biological father, you quite literally have zero responsibility. Why would anyone expect you to take care of her or her child when you found out she cheated on you anyways? They should be ranting on the real father instead of you. Why would anyone expect you to take care of her or her child when you found out she cheated on you anyways? Because the ex is stirring stuff up online. You're an adult. Do what's right for you. Your parents and sisters have no say in this. They're most likely projecting their disappointment of having a baby in the family onto you. Stay the course and don't let them make you second-guess your choice. Exactly. They don't care about Opie. They care about how they might be losing a grandchild, so they're trying to force Opie to be okay with getting cheated on. Please, the baby is 3 months old. She hasn't bonded with you in any meaningful way. If you stick around and play dad any longer, you would be the a-hole. You did the right thing. Get as far as possible away from this woman. She tried to trick you. Shame on her. Don't go back and forth. I don't care how much you miss your ex. She needs to start fresh with honesty with someone else. And you do too. You'll always harbor resentment, and this will spill into your relationship with the child. Update. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my husband and visiting my son on the 4th of July? Original post. I, 40 female, have been married to my now husband Joe for 15 years. I have a son, Matt, 22, from my previous relationship with Jake. Right after I graduated high school, I moved into Jake's house. He passed away 3 years later from cancer. 2 years after that, I met Joe, and we got married a year later. Joe moved into my house, which was owned by my deceased husband. When my son turned 18, Joe apparently told Matt that he had to pay $500 a month for rent and utilities. Matt told him that he actually owned the house we live in, and because he wanted to be vindictive, said Joe could pay $1,000 a month to him or get out. My husband didn't believe him, but I confirmed that this was Matt's house, and we couldn't force him to do anything. Rent didn't matter to Matt because his dad left him a fortune to cover expenses for the rest of his life. I really wish Joe had talked to me about this before saying anything, because we have 3 sons. I'm a middle school teacher and my husband works in a factory. So our combined income is only $75,000. Here, everyone has their own room, with a huge backyard and pool. We could never afford to own or rent a place like this otherwise. My husband was shocked and tried to apologize, but my son didn't accept it and insisted he had to pay or leave. The most we could afford was a 2-bedroom apartment in a bad neighborhood. I told Joe that uprooting our kids from a good school district and their friends because of his mistake wasn't an option. A month passed, and my husband hasn't paid his rent. When my son asked for it, my husband just laughed and said he wasn't paying. My son gave him an eviction notice. My husband suggested we go to his parents' house, but I refused and said either he pays or he goes by himself. He paid and has continued to pay since then. However, my husband refuses to talk to Matt. Other than that, everything in the house is perfect. My ex also left my son a lake house in Florida. My son graduated college and wanted to take all of us on vacation to celebrate before he starts law school. My husband was excited, but my son quoted him $800. He explained that a grown man shouldn't be taking a handout. Joe stormed off. This morning, the 5 of us plus Matt's girlfriend were headed out the door. Joe yelled at me and couldn't believe I was going. I told him I'm not going to let me and the kids suffer for a mistake he made trying to be a macho. I left, and my husband sent me a text message saying he was disappointed in me for siding with my son instead of him and for turning the kids against him. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Wow, your now husband told his stepson to pay rent for a house he doesn't own without consulting you first? I'll be honest and say your husband sounds like a douchebag a-hole. He should have immediately apologized. Talk to your son. Ask whether you can stay there if you divorce him. Jesus Christ. Not a-hole. Yeah, I have a feeling that Joe was trying to basically steal $500 a month in fun money for himself. What a greedy, stupid freaking idiot. You can do better than this loser. The fact he didn't tell her means there was no way he'll be using that for bills or anything. He would probably be counting on his stepson knowing this was a man thing and not saying anything to his mom. Everyone sucks here, except the son and younger kids. I really have to wonder what your eldest son had to put up with while he was growing up. Your husband knew it wasn't his house, knew he wasn't paying rent, and knew he was not your son's father. I'm kind of at a loss as to why he thought it was okay to make that kind of demand without talking to his stepson's parent. My guess is he saw a way to make $500 extra and was counting on you not finding out and or just bullying you into accepting it. Super icky. Edit? I did leave a few things out. After reading the replies, I thought to add some things. I technically never married my son's father. He was 50 when we had our son, so he had a really good job and a few properties. I never told Joe that I didn't own the house because he would have never agreed to staying in the house that my ex owned. So I handled all finances. Joe would just pay me his portion of utilities and bills. A lot you guys are saying that I didn't handle the situation, but I believe I handled it to the best of my ability. When the situation first happened, I told Joe I really love him and would love to remain a family with a decent quality of life. But if he couldn't remain in this household, I would agree to divorce him. He begged me to not divorce and said that he'll just pay my son the money. I thought that was the best way to handle the situation. Also, our finances are separate, so it's not taking away from me or the kids. But Joe doesn't really have money for his hobbies and interests, which was a problem for a while until he learned to just get over it. Now for the first update. So I took your advice to try to solve this situation. I asked Matt why Joe paying rent is necessary. Matt told me it isn't, and that he hasn't touched the money Joe gave him. It's in a bank account. I asked him why he is doing this then. Matt told me Joe has never apologized for demanding rent money to begin with. I was confused and said Joe told me he apologized. Matt explained he never got an apology, and when he does, Joe can stop paying rent and get the money back. I called Joe and asked why he's never apologized to Matt. And he was honest with his answer and said because Matt disrespected him in his house, and he should be the man of the house and have authority. But was embarrassed when he found out about the house because he realized that Matt was actually in control of him. I asked what was his full intentions when he asked Matt to pay rent. Joe said it was to help lessen the bills. Joe only makes $2,500 a month, and $500 went to bills, another $500 went to the kids, and another $250 on groceries. He also helps his parents out. He had nothing at the end of the month for his personal expenses, and this $1,000 a month definitely did not help. He thought about apologizing, but he said his ego wouldn't let him. Joe said he loves Matt, but doesn't think he could ever forgive him. I told him he started this mess, and honestly, if he thought I owned a house, it wasn't his place to charge my son rent. He just hung up the phone. So that's where we stand. I don't know what to do. Second update. When we got home, Joe's parents were there. Me, Matt, Joe, and his parents had a talk. They asked me how can I let Matt treat him this way, and that a wife should back her husband up. Before I could talk, Matt said a man who marries a mother should treat her kids like his own, but he hasn't been doing that for the past 15 years. I asked what Matt is talking about. He said every time I went on one of my teacher conferences or went on vacation, Joe would leave him at home by himself and take the other boys out to do something fun. He always disguised it as it was kid stuff and I wouldn't like it, but tell you I didn't want to go. At 18, he actually planned on moving out, but COVID happened, so he just decided to stay. I asked Joe if it was true, and he looked at me and said yeah, he shouldn't have to take care of someone else's kid. His parents looked disgusted, and his dad just went off on him and said he didn't raise him like this. I yelled at him and told him to get the heck out. He pleaded that he was sorry and that he realized that he was wrong with how he felt. His dad told him to leave, and when my husband tried to get in their car to go home with them, they said absolutely not, and that he was on his own. He tried going to his brother's house, but when he heard a full story, he said no, because he has kids and would be upset if their stepmom treated them horribly. From what I heard, he's staying with a friend. I had divorce papers given to him at his job. He texted me and asked if we can meet. We met at a cafe and he said he was really sorry and has been for a long time, and that he never meant to hurt me or Matt, but that he said it was hard to love another man's child. I just left. He's filed the papers, so I guess our divorce is about to start. I apologized to Matt for being a bad mom. He's fine, and our oldest son heard a conversation and doesn't want anything to do with his dad. The youngest, too, still spends time with him. Imagine alpha mailing yourself right out of a home and a marriage. What a stupid person. What kind of mom finds out her husband demanded her son pay rent or get out and doesn't throw him to the curb? Or at least ask the son if things were okay before the rental demand. She totally missed her son being treated less than for 15 years? Yeah, 110%. Surprised Matt doesn't kick both Joe and Mommy out after the nonsense they have both pulled and the fact they're both mooching off of him. Big ick. Not a-hole. Your husband is major a-hole. He can't love another man's child or treat that child decently. Although he has no problem being financially supported by another man's child, he is a complete and total loser. I hope Matt keeps the money. I find it hard to believe that you had no idea about how he truly felt about your son. How did you not know he didn't include your son when you were away? As a mother myself, I could never believe that you didn't suspect anything. Yeah, it feels like there was some willful ignorance happening on her part. My stepdad was more like a roommate. We had no issues with him, but he would have never felt comfortable demanding we pay rent and expect my mother would deal with it. The previous post, it felt like if it was her house and not her son's, her son would have ended up paying rent and she would have let it happen. Glad she filed for divorce, but it has been going on for how long and she never clocked there was an issue? Her son never said anything to her or behaved in a way that showed the relationship wasn't there? It doesn't make sense. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he shouldn't be upset when my daughter said that her uncle would be the one to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day? Fake names and please do be kind. I, 46 female, got pregnant with my daughter Sarah, female 26, when I was in college. My parents and my then boyfriend's parents pushed us to marry, which we did. My late husband, unfortunately, passed away a week after our daughter's second birthday because of a heart complication that we did not even know he had. It was a very hard time for me, and I went through a very bad depression. 4 years later, I met my now husband Robert, male 46, on a blind date set up by a friend. He was one of my best friend's cousin. We hit it off and got married a year later. Even when we were dating, he was very hands-on with my daughter and it did not take too long for my daughter to call him Papa. Even until we got married and when I got pregnant 2 years into the marriage and gave birth to twins, male 17 and female 17, he still acted like a father to Sarah. She was even included in my husband's family reunions and a cousin group photo shoot that my in-laws organized every Christmas. Things took a bit of a turn when Sarah turned 18. She started calling him by his first name, and both Robert and I were taken aback with the change of attitude she was displaying. I asked Robert what was that about, but he only shrugged, not knowing the reason too. I thought things would go back to normal, but she has been consistent in calling him by his first name, so I asked her if we could talk. Robert asked if he could join, which Sarah agreed. To make it short, my daughter overheard my husband talking about a Father's Day trip to his friend who owns a hostel. His friend asked him if he forgot to include Sarah since my husband only asked him to prepare 3 bedrooms. My husband replied that he planned this trip for his real children only. It wouldn't make sense if Sarah was in the trip since he wasn't her real father. This made Sarah feel betrayed and hurt because she saw him as her real dad, even if she knew he was her stepdad. My husband tried to explain to her that though he loves her as a father, his love for the twins were different since they were his real children. I wanted to just shut him up because he was overusing the word real, but Sarah told us to leave her room. What made that day even more depressing was that this day was her last week with us before she leaves the country for college. Since then, every time she comes home, Sarah acts like nothing happened but continues to call Robert by his first name. Robert didn't want to add fuel to the fire and just tolerated it. And now, a few years since then, my daughter announced her engagement to her longtime boyfriend. We were very happy for her as they have been dating since they were still college freshmen. 2 weeks before their wedding, we were wondering who would be walking Sarah down the aisle. I assumed it would be Robert, since I thought we have moved past that incident. But no. My daughter scoffed at me when I told her about Robert walking her down the aisle. She said, "I thought it was obvious that Uncle Greg, my late husband's brother, would be the one to do that. Besides, I'm not his real daughter. It wouldn't make sense if he walked me down the aisle." I did not talk back. Instead, apologized for my ignorance and told her that I'll speak with Robert about it, since he also assumed he'd be the one to walk her down the aisle. When I told him what Sarah said, he was mad. But I politely reminded him of the incident years ago, which made him even more upset. He said that it was a long time ago, and that Sarah should move on. I, who was offended for my daughter, told him that he shouldn't be upset, since he doesn't see her as his real child anyway. He then got teary-eyed and told me to not speak to him. He still attended Sarah's wedding but looked visibly down. We still aren't on good terms, and we have been pretending in front of relatives. My daughter does not know about this, and I want to keep it that way. But nevertheless, it's been a week since my daughter's wedding and Robert is still upset. He only talks to me about the twins and the household stuff, but beyond that, he keeps everything to himself. I feel really bad and think he is acting this way because of me. So with that being said, am I the a-hole? Not a-hole. She saw him as her real father, but he didn't see her as his real daughter. He can't pick and choose when she's his daughter and when she isn't. He wants her to treat him as her real father while he doesn't have to treat her as his real daughter. This, and a part where he said he thought she would have moved on. The fact that he thinks he could just crush someone like that and thinks she could just move on after learning her papa doesn't love her like he loves his real kids. Honestly, I think Robert just likes to look like he's this great guy that raised the poor girl without a dad. He doesn't get what he did and is playing victim like he was wronged. Meanwhile, he's the one that caused this by being fake. She did move on, away from her fake father. He's darn lucky he was invited to the wedding. She didn't even move on away from him. He told her that they had a different relationship dynamic than what she thought. She took that to heart and altered her behavior to better suit the relationship dynamic he told her they had. He is being treated exactly how he treats her. She's not treating him poorly. She just doesn't treat him like her father because he told her he is not. Edit/mini update. I would like to thank everyone for your advice and comments. My daughter found and commented in my post, and we will be talking about this tomorrow. She just messaged me earlier. I was feeling tired today and could not sleep, so I was able to write this. I also want to thank the people for calling me out. I know I'm not the best mother, but I try. But yes, I am an a-hole for tolerating him. I don't know what will happen in our talk tomorrow, but I do want everyone to have closure. I also want to add that my daughter and I do not have a strained relationship. She did not want me to walk down the aisle because then Robert would be pushing her to let him walk her too, since he thought we're a package. I will try to update, but it would be difficult since I know it's going to be emotional. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids after she accused me of stealing? I, a 25 female, need some advice because my family's in uproar over this. My sister, Emily, 32 female, has 3 kids. 7 male, 5 female, and 2 female. I adore my nieces and nephew, and I've always been the go-to babysitter whenever Emily needed help. I've taken them in overnight, watched them on weekends, and even took care of them for a week when Emily and her husband went on vacation. A few weeks ago, Emily called me in panic, saying she had lost her wedding ring. She asked if I had seen it, and I genuinely hadn't. I helped her search the entire house, but we couldn't find it. Emily was really upset, but we eventually gave up. A few days later, Emily called me again, this time in tears, accusing me of stealing her ring. She said she couldn't think of anyone else who would have taken it, since I'm the only person who's been in the house alone. I was shocked and hurt that she would accuse me of something like that. I tried to convince her that I would never do such a thing, but she wouldn't listen. She even threatened to call the police if I didn't return it. I couldn't believe my own sister would think so little of me. My parents got involved and took Emily's side, saying that it was suspicious that the ring disappeared right after I had been there. They pressured me to confess and return the ring, but I stood my ground because I was innocent. In the midst of this family drama, Emily asked me to babysit her kids for a few hours because she had an emergency at work. I refused, telling her that I couldn't help someone who thought I was a thief. She called me selfish and said I was punishing her kids for something they had nothing to do with. My parents are now furious with me, saying that family should stick together no matter what, and that I'm being petty and immature. They believe I should just let it go for the sake of the children. Emily has continued to insist that I took the ring, and my refusal to babysit has only made things worse. Emily, her husband, and my parents are calling me an a-hole for refusing to babysit and taking it out on kids who have nothing to do with this. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids after she accused me of stealing? Not the a-hole. Your sister's actions were completely out of line, and your family should be ashamed of themselves. Accusing someone of stealing is a huge deal, especially when it's a close family member. And to then turn around and expect you to babysit like nothing happened is beyond disrespectful. Stand your ground. They need to understand the gravity of what they did to you. An apology should be the bare minimum after accusing you of such a serious offense. Not the a-hole. And if you ever do give in or go back, the ring will magically reappear, and everyone will be told you returned it. The ring might have already appeared. Coincidence that sister suddenly had an emergency at work. Sister might be setting the stage for finding the ring. Another scenario is one of the kids was playing with it and lost it. Not the a-hole. This is absolutely infuriating. Your sister has the audacity to accuse you of theft and then expects you to just babysit her kids like nothing happened? Hell no. Your family's enabling this toxic behavior by siding with her without any proof. They're all treating you like a scapegoat, and it's disgusting. You don't owe any of them anything, especially babysitting. They owe you a massive apology, and you have every right to refuse to babysit until they do. This is beyond just a misunderstanding. It's a blatant attack on your character. Stand your ground and don't let them guilt trip you into backing down. Update. I know that my husband regrets throwing me out, but I can't rush my healing. 39 female, 41 male. Original post. My husband's best friend's wife, Allie, work at the same company I do. We are not very close because I always felt that she didn't like me. Anyway, apparently she had a crush on my husband. My husband and I often get invited to parties at their house, but I didn't go to Allie's 40th birthday last August. She had a huge party, but I was just starting with my worst morning sickness period, which nobody told me were not only reserved for mornings. Allie made a move on my husband and he got very upset and turned her down. Allie got angry and told him that everyone was doing it. All married couples cheat. Her husband was cheating and I was cheating. She told him it was a colleague of mine, a colleague my husband already disliked. When my husband got home, he was drunk and very upset. He confronted me, and I told him it wasn't true, but he slept in the sofa. A couple of weeks later, he told me to move out. Apparently, Allie provided my husband with information about my infidelity, late working hours, etc. I was shocked and had nowhere to go, so I moved in with my parents. My parents thought I was cheating too, and I felt like they had to take me in. I never felt so hurt in my life. How could my husband so simply believe such thing about me? Then he demanded a paternity test. In November, my husband found out the truth when another friend's wife told her husband what Allie did. My husband apologized and was devastated and wanted to make it up to me. He told me when Allie told him he didn't believe her. Then he found out that she was telling the truth about her husband being an adulterer, so he thought she was telling the truth about everything. If I wasn't pregnant, I would never have taken my husband back, but I just don't want my baby to be born without his parents being together. I love my stepdad, but he never loved me like he did his biological children, my half-siblings, and it gave me a lot of pain growing up. I moved back home a month ago, but we are still in therapy. But nothing feels the same. I don't even know what I feel about my husband. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I don't. He's trying to make me happy again, but he feels my change. Last time we made love, he kept telling me to come back to him, and then broke down crying while we were still intimate because I wasn't there, and he started blaming himself. I don't know what to do. I know I'm being a bit distant and it's not intentional. I need this to work, not only for our son but for us too. Help me find my way back to how it was, or at least give me ways to cope and try to live with the knowledge that things may be a bit worse moving forward. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Sounds like you need his and hers therapists and a couples to complete the hat trick. That's if you really think you want to make this work, and I'd give that some serious thought. If this was a complete departure for him, maybe that's worth it. But if you can't find it in yourself to forgive him, don't stay for the sake of the baby. Modeling an unhealthy relationship isn't going to be any better for your child than growing up with parents who are separated. Model happiness for your baby instead. Possibly relevant, did he cheat too because he thought you had? I understand everything you're saying. I just feel that I want this to work. We are in couples counseling and he is in therapy since everything happened. He didn't cheat exactly since we were divorcing, but he withdrew it when he found out I wasn't lying. But yes, he had slept with people. Something I can't shake off my mind every time he comes near me. He was pretty quick to distrust you and start sleeping with other people. I definitely think you need therapy, both separately as individuals and as a couple. But I don't think you should have to speed your healing. He betrayed you and destroyed your trust in him, while also harming your relationships with others. You are staying because your stepfather wasn't a good step-parent. Some people are amazing step-parent. Having a child is not a good reason to stay in a broken relationship. This will hurt the child way more than having divorced parents. Your husband didn't trust you. He put someone else's word over yours. He broke his vow done during marriage that you would be his partner and him yours. That you would be a team. He threw you out while pregnant, not even knowing yet if the kid was his. He had no right, as it is a marital home. I think it is a big mistake to go back to him, especially given your reasons. Update. Hi again. Thank you for the support. I didn't expect anyone to read my post since it got too long. But thank you for caring, really. It feels weird that strangers are far more understanding of how I'm feeling than the people who love and know me. There's something I want to bring up, however, and that's that I got a lot of aggressive messages about my last comment that got downvoted, about whether my husband has slept with Ellie or not. I'm so confused to why I got downvoted and later attacked in a private chat. I was asked a question and I answered the truth, and I wasn't trying to defend my husband. Actually, the reason why he would never do it is because he loves and respects his friend. He wouldn't do that to him. It has nothing to do with me, and to be honest, it saddens me. I mean, I don't want him to have slept with her, but it saddens me that my husband would never cross that line with a buddy of his, when he chose to trample all over me and our baby. So I'm very confused to why you hated my answer. Ellie and I still have the same workplace. I'm not changing my life because of her. And to those of you who are angered by the fact that I didn't seem as mad as her as I'm with my husband, believe me, I hate everything about her and her husband. I just didn't think her worthy of the smallest amount of my time and energy. But for those of you who are curious, I exposed her and her husband to every single person we know. She works mostly from home now, because again, the people who don't know me as well as my family, my coworkers had no problems believing me with no hesitation. Many of you have requested an update, and many of you who contacted me asked me if my husband knew how I was feeling. I haven't spoken a lot with him, I just never had the energy. I feel exhausted all the time, physically but more so mentally. I'm so tired, and some days I can barely do the simplest tasks like eating or taking a shower. I'm fine or I'll be fine, it's just so easy to say. My quietness is good enough indication for my husband to get an idea about how I'm feeling. But no, I have never really put in words how I've been doing these past few months. I'm mostly silent and in our couples sessions too, trying not to cry. It's basically him breaking down about how bad he hurt me and how guilty he felt every time he remembered how he doubted that our baby is his. I believe everything he says, and I feel that his guilt is genuine and heavy. He says he deserves it and that he never wants it to go away. That he should always live with this guilt because of how he treated me. I believe this too. It's just not enough for me, however. We had our first session for this year on Tuesday and I was more verbal then. I told him how I felt when my husband chose not to believe me, chose to sleep with others and break my heart. But worst, how worthless and disposable my baby and I were to him. I told him the truth that I wasn't sure I will ever forgive him. His only chance to get me back is to give me space and peace. I told him I never want to feel worthless again. I have a good job, and I can fend for myself and my baby, but that I want my house. He needs to put it in my name so nobody can ever kick me to the streets again. I never want my baby to be disposable again. So, I want the inheritance my husband got from his father to be put in a trust fund for him, and that my husband has no access to it, and I want my husband to move out. I made it very clear that these are my demands, without any guarantees we would stay together. This morning he told me that he agreed to everything, but he wanted me to promise to let him be present when our baby is born, because he's already lost so much time from the pregnancy. He can't stand the thought of not being there for our baby's first weeks. I agreed, and honestly, I never wanted to do this alone anyway. He is moving out this weekend. Your husband slept with others in that short time period? OP, I think they downvoted you saying you don't believe he slept with Ellie because you used an emotional standpoint where he placed someone higher than you. So they disliked it. Logically, if Ellie got shut down by your husband and then opened his eyes to all these neighborly infidelity, the first person to attack your husband and keep attacking him after you leave would be Ellie, and your husband would owe her one for exposing you. I hope it didn't happen. I'm just theorizing why you might have got downvotes for that. I'm sorry you were going through this. Yes, he was very angry and wanted to get over us fast. This is what he said. Wow, I'm really proud of you. It must have been so hard to stand up for yourself and put your needs into words. I really wish you the best, and hope that you can heal from this and at least manage good co-parenting, even if you should decide on not staying with your husband. Thank you. I thought of what was important to me and my baby. I want to never be put in that position again, and I want to make my decisions from a place of power. If I ever take him back, it should be because I want to, not because I have to. And I'm sorry this post got even longer than the last. Next story. My boyfriend asked for a paternity test for our child. As soon as the results come and show he is the father, I'm leaving him. I'm a new mom to a baby boy who is my pride and joy, though it's been a roller coaster adjusting to taking care of a baby. The past few months have been great. Tiring, but great. I have a boyfriend of 3 years who is the first person relationship-wise I have ever loved, and I thought we were doing great as new parents but also as partners. Friday, he came home and he asked me for a paternity test. Just like that. It was completely out of the blue. I was putting away the dishes and he asked for one, like he was asking what was for dinner. I'm a different race from him, but our child, apart from the skin tone, is literally his mirror image from pictures I had seen of him when he was a baby. I was stunned when he asked, and his reasons were that he had to be sure he was the father. He had to have that certainty. All I remember as he was speaking is just immediately feeling pain. The man I love doesn't trust me. He would actually believe that I would sleep with someone else, cheat on him, and then try to pass off another man's baby as his. I have never ever given him reason to think I would cheat on him. I have tried to be transparent and communicated, and it wasn't enough. He told me he would give me time to think about this, that he wouldn't go behind my back and do this test, but for our relationship to move forward, he needs to be 100% sure. He repeated this because he, in his words, needed me to realize how serious he was. After thinking for a couple of days, I'm going to allow him this paternity test because I have nothing to hide. I never cheated and would have never cheated on him. But once it's proven that he's the father, I'm ending it, leaving the same day, and I'm going to try my best to be a cooperative co-parent with him. In the meantime, I'm coming up with my exit plan, a place to live, and a lawyer to work out a custody arrangement and court. I can't even tell my family or my friends right now because they would go nuclear, and my first priority is our child. I hope the test was worth it to him. I'm not asking for advice or reassurance or to explain his side. I'm just realizing this part of my life is now over. What a way to start the new year, huh? Now for the top advice. Did you ask what suddenly made him change his mind? Who is he talking to? I'm thinking a group of friends got into his head, and he's not going to expect her to leave, especially as he said for this relationship to go forward. Which sounds like an ultimatum. You just had a baby, you are helpless, you must do whatever I say, because you are totally at my mercy and I have all the power. Well, surprise. It also sounds like, are you sure it's my baby? I want to be somewhere else, and if it's not mine, I won't have to pay any child support. He sounds kind of checked out whatever it is. Well, at least she'll already have a paternity test handy to prove it's his kid for child support. If he already signed a birth certificate, it might not matter. Many states only require legal parenthood and not biological. Not telling others is a good thing. That way, you know it won't get back to him. He can't backtrack after the results come in. I'm petty. I would also record him saying it, and then record him getting the results. Just so you can play back for him in the future. Also, if he ever lies and says he never said it. So much this. Definitely record what he is saying and his reaction to the test. Also, keep a copy of the test. Last story. My best friend's husband confessed his feelings for me. Her life was very difficult, and she says she's finally happy. How do I tell her? Mia, 32 female, and I, 32 female, met in college, and were best friends ever since. Mia was always very family-oriented and romantic, even when she was a kid. Her ultimate life dream is to have a big, happy family. Sadly, Mia had a very difficult childhood. She lost her entire family, younger sister and both parents from ages 10 to 12. She was in the system for a while, until her awful uncle took her in. Obviously, Mia is very mentally unwell, and just a few months ago, she managed to get off her meds and stopped going to therapy. Mia and her husband Rick, 34 male, are together for 2 years now and married for 6 months. In my opinion, it was all a bit rushed, but Mia was getting scared she won't be able to have children if she waited. And to be honest, Rick seemed to be her perfect match. She was aware things are going faster than she initially wanted, but reassured me that her and Rick are on the same page. It's her life after all, so if she's happy, so am I. Rick and I never love nor hate each other. He's my friend's husband, so at best, we tolerate one another. We don't have any common interests and our lifestyle/life goals are different. Fast forward to the New Year's Eve, me and Rick organized a party and invited me and my partner, 31 male, to join. Everything seemed fine. Rick and I were chatting with some friends when I decided to go outside to breathe in some fresh air since the house was very crowded. Rick followed a few minutes later. We casually talked about some irrelevant things when he suddenly says he's in love with me. I thought it's one of his stupid jokes and I was totally blindsided by it, so I just laughed, joked back and hoped he will drop it. Sadly, he just doubled down and got visibly upset, started saying how he doesn't want to spend another year unhappy, and how being with me is exhausting because of her trauma, and he deserves better than that. At this point, I got very nauseous and just wanted to get away from it all. So I told him he has no idea what he's saying, and we will talk once he gets his act together. Mia and Rick are trying for a baby, so I obviously have to tell her ASAP. The thing is, I have no idea how to do that. How do you approach a person to tell her that the best part of her life is a lie? How do you address something like this with a person who spent the vast majority of her life in antidepressants and being self-harming? I don't even know if she'll believe me. I also don't want to lose her as a friend, but I can't watch her be all happy and giddy about him, when I know he doesn't even freaking respect her. There are times I think to just ignore it all and never mention it, but I know that isn't right. You have to tell her, and it may mean she chooses him and you lose the friendship. But I couldn't live with a secret. I'd get her one-on-one as soon as possible and be upfront that you have bad news, so she can sort of be prepared. I'd frame it as, this is so horrible. I don't want it to be true, but her husband is not a good man, and she needs to know. It's up to her what she does with this information and you'll be there for her whatever she decides, even if that's staying away for a while. Her world might totally crash down with us. Offer any and all support you feel is right, but be patient with her potentially lashing out as she reacts to this news. You need to tell her. But before you do, you need to try and record another conversation with him about this issue without him knowing. Depending on how lost or where you are from on consent for recording, with him saying what he said. Because even if Mia does believe you without a single piece of proof, he will almost certainly try to turn this on you and say that you were the one trying to come on to him. Yes, I will definitely try to talk to him again about it for the proof. It's just that the entire thing is absolutely insane to me. I know love is blind, but I can't imagine anybody buying the story that I was the one who initiated the conversation. The fact he actually did it is crazy enough. I've been with my partner longer than he even knows Mia, and he doesn't know me enough to be in love with me. I've never given any idea to this man that I might be interested, and neither did he. I have moments when I question my own sanity, and wonder if that conversation even happened. Update. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband if I can cheat on him after finding out he cheated on me? Original post. I, 32 female, became a mom to a beautiful 3-month-old baby girl. I live in a big joint family, and I feel really blessed with how much love and support I've received from my in-laws. My husband, 32 male, my in-laws, 2 brothers-in-law, 3 sisters-in-law, and a few teenage nieces all live under the same roof, and my in-laws truly treat me like their daughter. My husband and I have been married for a few years, and I honestly thought we were solid. The trouble started during one of our family's regular dress-up nights. A fun little tradition we have where everyone in the family dresses up and spends the evening together, laughing, taking pictures, and just enjoying each other's company. I especially love these nights because of my nieces. They're teenagers and it's always a blast seeing how excited they get about picking out outfits and having fun. However, during this particular dress-up night, my mother-in-law pulled me aside. She seemed a little uncomfortable but told me there was something I needed to see. She showed me some WhatsApp messages that my husband had mistakenly sent to her instead of another woman. He had sent them thinking they were going to this woman, and they were clearly romantic and suggestive. From the way the messages were worded, it was obvious he had been having an affair with her. My mother-in-law said he probably deleted the messages for him instead of for everyone and didn't notice. When I confronted my husband, he didn't deny it. In fact, he admitted that he had been cheating on me. What hurt me the most was how he tried to justify it. He said that men have needs, and because I was pregnant and then recovering after childbirth, he wasn't getting what he needed from me. He claimed that it was just physical and meant nothing. It felt like he was brushing off my feelings, as if what he did was no big deal. Just because it wasn't emotional for him, but it was a huge deal for me. I was shattered. Here I was, still recovering from childbirth, physically and emotionally exhausted from taking care of our newborn, and he was running around behind my back. I was angry and hurt beyond words, and in the heat of the moment, I lashed out. I asked him, if it's just physical, should I go find someone else too? I wanted him to understand how it felt to be on the receiving end of betrayal. I never want to cheat. It was just to make him understand how crazy he sounded. He got furious. He stormed out, claiming I was being disrespectful and that I went too far by suggesting I could cheat on him in return. Now here's where things get complicated. My in-laws are all on my side. They are furious with my husband for what he's done, and they've made it clear they don't support his behavior. They've been incredibly supportive of me and our baby, which I deeply appreciate. They're even on my side if I decide to divorce him. However, when I talked to my own mother about this, she told me I took things too far by saying I'd cheat on him. He said I should have handled it differently without stooping to his level. But that wasn't the only thing she told me. Apparently, my mom had known about the affair for a while. She had seen my husband with this other woman at some point, but didn't tell me because she didn't want her granddaughter to grow up without a father. I'm devastated. Not only did my husband cheat, but my own mother kept it from me. I understand she had her reasons, but I feel completely betrayed by the people closest to me. Now, my husband is upset, claiming that my comment about cheating on him was out of line, even though it was made in the heat of the moment, fueled by his betrayal. My mom also seems to think I went too far, even though she knew about his affair and chose to stay silent. So here I am, trying to make sense of everything. My in-laws are on my side, my husband is mad at me, and my mom thinks I should have kept my cool. Am I the a-hole for asking if I could cheat on my husband after finding out he cheated on me? Should I have handled this differently? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Ignore your mom and your husband. The comment was out of line? He actually did cheat. Your mom can get lost herself for lying and enabling the cheating. OP, tell your husband to F off. I'm so freaking tired of reading this culture BS that entitles men to sleep with other women and then demand respect. I'm a guy, OP, and I find your arrogant, pompous, selfish a-hole of a husband abhorrent. Ask your mother if she slept with him too. Thought you shouldn't stoop to his level? Ignore her. Hopefully at some point your father cheats on her worthless butt. If you don't go no contact on her, you're crazy. And tell her the next time she sees her grandchild will be at her funeral. You don't want your grandchild introduced to such a valueless woman. Accept your in-law support. Confer with a seasoned family law attorney to discuss your entitlements and alternatives regarding parental rights and responsibilities, as well as support and property division issues. If you, for some reason, choose to stay with a-hole, make it conditional on your ability to have an affair outside of the marriage, subject solely to your discretion. If you can't accept that, back to number 3. Introduce your illustrious husband on social media. Broadcast that if anyone is looking for an unfaithful, lying, cheating, arrogant, pompous, self-absorbed a-hole, they came to the right place. You know, cheating is one thing. Acting entitled to do so is another. Tell him he hasn't fulfilled your needs for a long time. You're looking for his replacement. Remember, hell has no wrath like that of a woman scorned. Now for the first update. It's currently 3:35 a.m. and I can't sleep. I'm lying here in my in-laws' house, and the only ones who seem to be sleeping are the kids.
I just needed to share what's been happening since my last post. First of all, thank you for all the supportive comments. They've really helped me feel less alone in this mess. So after I posted my original message at 1 a.m., I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt that was swirling inside me. My mother keeps insisting that my husband's cheating was a one-time mistake and I should just stay for the sake of our daughter. But I know deep down that it's so much more complicated than that. Finding out about the affair was a blow I never saw coming, especially during our family dress-up night when my mother-in-law pulled me aside to tell me. Since then, my in-laws have kicked my husband out of the house, and they've been incredibly supportive. They really treat me like family, which is a relief because my own dad was more of a ghost in my life than an actual father. It is hard to explain how grateful I am for their support during this chaotic time. They've stepped in and made it clear that they're on my side, which has been comforting. But I can't shake the feeling that I need to figure out who his affair partner is. I have this nagging suspicion that it might be my best friend Tara, as I saw him use that name in some of the texts he accidentally sent my mother-in-law. The thought makes me sick. I don't want to believe it, but it's hard to ignore. In the morning, I plan to have a serious talk with my husband, but I also need to talk to a lawyer about divorce and custody. I've worked hard to build my own career and finances, so I know I can support myself and my daughter, but it's still scary to think about what the future holds. I'm trying to remind myself that I deserve better than this. My mother's voice has been echoing in my head, urging me to think about my daughter, but I need to prioritize my own happiness too. Staying in a relationship built on lies and betrayal isn't healthy for any of us. I want my daughter to grow up in a loving environment, not one where her parents are constantly at odds. I also need to confront my mother about the fact that she knew about my husband's cheating and didn't tell me. She claims she didn't want my daughter to grow up without a father, but I feel betrayed. I have to set boundaries and make it clear that I need her support, not just for my daughter's sake, but for my own sanity. For now, I'm staying with my in-laws, who have really embraced me during this time. It feels nice to be part of a family that genuinely cares for me. I think it's important for my daughter to have a relationship with them, especially since my own father wasn't really a father figure in my life. Thank you for being here for me and for all your kind words. They meant more than you know. I'll keep you updated as things unfold, and I hope to find the strength to navigate this storm. Not the a-hole. Lawyer up. Don't let him know it's coming. You got this, girl. You do deserve better. Think of your daughter. You're going to be teaching her not to tolerate disrespect. Break the cycle of unhealthy relationships. OP should not rush into forgiveness just because others think she should. My mother's voice has been echoing in my head, urging me to think about my daughter. You are thinking about your daughter. You're showing her she doesn't have to put up with this BS in a relationship. Your mother's thinking is archaic. Please see a lawyer and make sure you stand up for yourself here. If your husband wants respect, then he needs to show it back to you. OP, imagine that 20 years from now, your daughter comes to you distraught because her husband pulled the same nonsense. Can you imagine any circumstance where you would respond the way your mother has responded to you? Break that cycle of misogynistic BS now, for your daughter's sake. Second update. Hey everyone, it's 9 a.m. now and the events of this morning have left me feeling completely drained. I can't believe how much has happened in just a few hours, but I wanted to share the latest updates with all of you. Your comments and support have been a lifeline for me, and I can't thank you enough for your words of encouragement. So earlier this morning, my husband actually had the nerve to show up at my in-laws' home with a side chick. I still can't get over it. Who does that? He knew how devastated I was, and yet he thought it was a good idea to bring her here, to our home, like it was no big deal? And get this, it wasn't my best friend Tara, but her name was also Tara. What are the odds? I swear it felt like some kind of twisted joke. My father-in-law was absolutely livid. As soon as my husband and his new girlfriend stepped foot inside, my father-in-law didn't hesitate. He kicked them both out on the spot. The fury in his voice was something I've never heard before, and honestly, I was glad to see it. My in-laws have been nothing but supportive since this whole mess started, and I'm incredibly grateful to have them on my side. But what really hit me hard was my husband's reaction toward our daughter. He didn't even look at her, didn't ask about her, didn't show an ounce of affection. It was like she didn't exist to him anymore, and that just shattered me. How could he be so cold? How could he just walk away from his own child without a second thought? It was as if the affair had flipped a switch in him, turning off any remaining love or care he had for our family. After that awful confrontation, my father-in-law took matters into his own hands. He immediately contacted a lawyer to begin the process of removing my husband from the family inheritance. Instead, he's planning to put our daughter's name in his place. That decision floored me. I never expected my in-laws to go to such lengths to protect us, but they've made it clear that they see me as their own daughter and will do everything they can to make sure my daughter and I are taken care of. It's overwhelming, but I'm deeply touched by their support. As for the divorce, things have moved quickly. I managed to speak with my friend's dad, who's a lawyer, and he walked me through what to do next. Since divorces in India can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months, he recommended creating a legal agreement with my husband to cover the interim period. This agreement has several important clauses, all designed to protect me and our daughter until the divorce is finalized. Here's what we've put in place. Living arrangements. I will continue to live with my in-laws until the divorce is finalized. This ensures that I'm in a safe and supportive environment, and there won't be any more drama or accusations about infidelity. No access to our daughter. My husband will not be allowed any contact with our daughter during this period. Monthly financial support. My husband is required to provide a fixed monthly amount to support me and our daughter. While I have my own job and finances, this will help cover the extra costs of raising our daughter and ensure we're not struggling during the divorce process. Behavioral clauses. My husband also agreed to some behavioral clauses, including not bringing the side chick anywhere near our home or child and maintaining a respectful distance from me and my family. This was important because I don't want to deal with this drama while I'm trying to move on. Legal fees. He also agreed to cover a portion of my legal fees for the divorce. I've worked hard for my career, but every bit helps in situations like this, especially with how long and expensive divorces can be. Here's the shocking part. My husband signed the agreement without any argument. No fights, no pushback, just signed and walked away like he couldn't care less. As he handed the papers back to the lawyer, he sneered at me and said, "Get out." It was like he didn't even see me as a person anymore. I had spent years building a life with this man, and now all I could see was someone who wanted me gone as quickly as possible, like I was the problem. I'm still in shock at how easily he threw everything away. Our marriage, our daughter, and our life together. His total lack of remorse is mind-boggling. And the fact that he's already moved on with someone else, proudly flaunting her in front of his family, makes it clear to me that he never really cared about us. He's treating this like it's just a bump in the road, and now he can go on living his new life without any guilt. I can't help but feel betrayed on so many levels. This man was my partner, the father of my child, and someone I trusted completely. Now I'm realizing just how deep his betrayal goes. I guess I was holding on to some hope that maybe he would at least show some regret, some concern for what he did. But after this morning, it's obvious that's never going to happen. So, here I am, sitting in the home of people who feel more like my real family than he ever did. I'm so thankful for my in-laws, especially my father-in-law, who immediately took charge of the situation and did everything he could to ensure my daughter and I will be okay. I've already started looking into divorce proceedings, and with the agreement signed, I feel a little more at peace knowing I have some security until the process is over. Thank you again for all of your kind words and advice. I honestly don't know how I would have made it through the last 24 hours without this community. I'll keep you updated as things progress, but for now, I'm focusing on staying strong for my daughter and building a new future, one that doesn't involve a man who was willing to walk away from everything. Last story. Am I the a-hole for completely cutting my wife off from our finances because she wouldn't stop ordering takeout? I am 41 years old and male. My wife is 39 years old. My wife doesn't work due to a minor disability. It's not as if she cannot work, but she complains of discomfort and exhaustion all the time. The discussion over her working basically ended 5 years ago, and I have completely given up on the prospect of her ever having a job again. Seeing as she doesn't even come close to qualifying for disability and brings in no income, we currently live entirely off my salary. I do not mind financially supporting her, but my wife's spending habits have gradually become more and more reckless. It began with her ordering takeout twice a week, and then that escalated into 3 times a week. And now she's ordering takeout nearly every day. This is all despite our fridge being stocked constantly. I do the shopping and I make sure to even keep our freezer full of things she would only have to microwave. Last month was a particularly heavy one for her. She spent $1,176 on delivery apps alone. We cannot afford this. There were several days that she ordered twice. I may have reacted harshly, but on Friday, I pulled money out of our savings, completely paid off the card, and then canceled it. I then removed all the money from our joint account and funneled it into my own account. Apparently, my wife learned this when she tried to order takeout. She tried to call the company, who explained the card had been canceled. She texted me asking what had happened, and I responded that she was cut off. Well, when I walked in the door that evening, my wife was lying on the floor dramatically saying that she had low blood sugar. I told her she could eat any of the food we have in our fridge or freezer. I also noticed that she took the garbage out, probably for the first time in a decade. I'm surprised she even knew where the outdoor bin was. I can only assume she was disposing of the evidence of what she ate, as she was pretending to have not eaten. But I honestly don't care enough to dig through the garbage to find it. She was furious at me all weekend. Was what I did over the top? Not the a-hole. $1,176 on takeout? That's a half a month's wages for me. No, this needs to stop. And the manipulation with the blood sugar thing is beyond overdramatic. And the fact she took then garbage after years of not doing proves she knows what she is doing. I'm wondering if it will save money long-term to divorce her. Damn. This thinking is actually justified. I know of a 30-plus year marriage that ended up in divorce. A very big part of it had to do with finances. One worked and the other refused to, and used their child and then grandchild to justify their own personal spending habits and refusal to work. Craziness. Update. Am I the a-hole for passing out during a family gathering meant to introduce our new baby? Original post. So recently, I, 27 female, had a beautiful baby girl with my husband, 29 male. She is my pride and joy. I love her more than I love myself, but taking care of her has taken its toll on me. My husband promised the work would be 50-50 when we agreed we wanted children, but I don't feel that's being reflected by his actions this past month. It's gotten to the point where I can't even ask him to wash her up without him saying something along the lines of, "My paternity leave is short. I want to make the most of it by relaxing a bit. I'll help you out later." And I get it. His paternity leave is only 6 weeks while mine is 16 weeks. But my nether regions hurt for a better part of 2 weeks after the birth, and all he could do for me was occasionally burp her. Now, my baby girl has gotten to a phase where she doesn't want to sleep. She'll sleep for an hour, but then she's up and back to crying, and I have to get up and try to soothe her. It's been happening for a week now, and I've gotten so little sleep that I'm nodding off while eating or doing the laundry and stuff. Saturday was the month anniversary of my daughter's birth, so I decided to gather both sides of the family to meet her. They hadn't met her prior because A, I wanted to rest as much as I could, and B, I heard somewhere that you shouldn't be taking babies out and about when they're fresh out the womb, because they're more prone to illness then. So we had this gathering at my mother's house and all is well. Everyone was cooing over our baby. There was food, people were catching up or meeting for the first time. It was nice. But I had gotten about 3 hours of sleep, generous estimate, in total the past week, and I was starting to feel the effects of it. I was feeling lightheaded and clammy, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I tried to go to a bedroom to lie down. I didn't take 10 steps before my vision completely blacked out. I wasn't down for long, but I had fallen over, which drew some attention. I explained to everyone who was concerned that I was fine and that I was just not getting enough sleep, and I could see my husband visibly frown at that. They gave me some of the dessert my aunt made to get my sugar up, and the party continued. I felt embarrassed about the whole thing, especially since everyone was still looking over me until we left. But it's whatever. What bothers me is my husband's reaction. When we got home, he started going off on me about how I made him look bad and like he wasn't taking care of me. I was confused on how the heck me passing out made him look bad, but he refused to explain himself and had a pity party for himself in the kitchen. I was still feeling bad, so I decided to leave him alone and just go to sleep. But he seems to have taken that as a sign that I don't care about his feelings. He's in my ear this morning about how I just ignored him to go to sleep last night and how I didn't even put the baby to sleep before leaving. Is he right? Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, and I can't call your husband the names I want to because my comment will be deleted. Paternity leave isn't a time to relax. It's a time you're helping raise the baby and spending time together as a family. Clearly, he is not doing either of these things as A, you'd be better rested, and B, he'd have noticed you're exhausted. Your passing out made him look bad because it was clear to everyone that you're being left to raising your baby alone. It's clearly not a partnership, and the a-hole you're married to is turning it into you to shift responsibility and blame. You need to seriously reconsider the relationship's future and brings this up with him, as it all comes down to him and his behavior. If he gets his act together, then things will be much better. But if he doesn't, you and your daughter deserve so much better. He doesn't know what paternity leave is and doesn't really want to take care of his family. Sadly, you can't seem to shake that loser. This deadbeat of a father and husband is using his 6 weeks to laze around, instead of using it to take care of his wife and child. OP, you said you love your baby more than yourself. Would you want to let her grow up and think that it's normal for wives to push themselves while they're sleepless and in pain until they faint? And husbands to berate them instead of worrying and taking care of them? Tell your parents that your husband doesn't help you at all and blamed you for making him look bad. You know what else makes him look bad? Being a deadbeat father and partner. The whole point of paternity leave is for him to help out, not relax. He makes you work extra hard in taking care of the baby. Then when you pass out, he sees himself as a victim who looks bad in front of his family? Your fainting is proof that he's not pulling his weight. If you trust his parents, show them this post and get their backup in giving him the wake-up call he deserves. His parents are genuinely nice people, so that may work. I'm starting to worry about my health at this point, and he's refusing to listen to me. Mini update. So I've tried talking with him, but he's been ignoring me and the baby the last 3 hours. I'd usually wait longer, but I'm just too tired to deal with this right now. You guys were right. I do need help with this. And he's made it very clear he's not ready to help me yet. So I'm just going to go to my mom's place. I'm currently packing. I'm so done. Now for the full update. Hi all, your comments were really helpful, so thank you. Yesterday, before I could Uber to my mom's house, my sister offered to help me, so I'm staying with her instead. She's taking personal time off to help me out with my girl, which I'm very grateful for. She also gave me sleep medicine that knocked me out for hours. I'm not sure if that was a good idea or not, but I slept long and well, so I don't care. I woke up a few hours ago to tons of messages from my husband. Like the little app icon had 99 plus on it. Here are some things he said, copy-pasted. You can't just up and freaking leave with my baby. Come back now, please. Let's talk about it. You're actually so freaking immature. What the heck is wrong with you? We have one argument and you freaking pretend like I've been beating you. Why the heck did you leave? We can work this out like adults, yet you're choosing to be difficult like a little bee. Please just come back. We will talk and sort this out and we can go back to being happy, so come back. I miss my baby girl. You can't just take her away. What if I called the police for kidnapping? Would that teach you what you're doing is wrong? I would screenshot, but it says this community doesn't allow attachments, so I can't. And I know it's a bit weird to tell y'all what he's been texting me, but I'm mad right now and this feels therapeutic, lol. I already sent the screenshots to his mom though. As for my baby, I have an appointment to a pediatrician for Wednesday, but for now, she's in formula since my breast milk quality isn't the best for understandable reasons. My sister said she wasn't as fuzzy as I described, so I really think the problem is with my milk. That or my sister wanted to make me feel better for sleeping. Who knows? I'll wait for the doctor's opinion. I'm not feeling 100%, but I feel a whole lot more better than before. Thank you to everyone who showed concern. I think this will be the last update since I want to not think too much about my husband right now. I am so glad you left and got some help and rest. You definitely need and deserve it. I still can't get over your husband's mental gymnastics here. He hasn't been a parent, hasn't helped you at all, and hasn't really spent any time caring for his daughter, and only cares about what other people besides you think. But misses his baby girl and wants you to come back so he can go back to being happy? Sounds like the only person who was happy was him. He got a 6-week vacation and didn't have to lift a finger. Let me guess, you were doing all the cooking and cleaning on top of caring for the baby? From what he is texting you, he thinks he did nothing wrong. He is being deliberately obtuse. To add insult to injury, he calls you a bee and threatens you with the cops. Lovely. He is a real peach. I really want to know what his mom has to say. Does she know he was mad at you for passing out? Because it isn't about love. It is about control and image. Please keep strong. You have done a fabulous job doing what you need to for you and baby. Best wishes. Damn, this dude is crazy. Hopefully next update it'll be ex-husband. What he said was too crazy. Not even caring at all. Even though his wife had fainted, he kept swearing and talking about solving the problem. When you really go back, it will probably be another scolding and insulting. Your sister is helping you take care of your child now, so you can sleep peacefully and take care of your body first. That man is not worth it. When you decide you've had enough, take a screenshot of his text so you can show it to everyone who will be asking you whether or not to terminate things permanently. You are already a married single mother. Get free of your violent husband's dead weight. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my pregnant wife when she gave me the silent treatment over ice cream? Wife 32 female is pregnant and has her emotional and physical struggles. Add a scoop of annoyance and silliness too. Frankly, I'm too tired sometimes, and I need to know if I did anything wrong here. I 35 male, I'm a professional, and right now very busy. Wife has her fair share of mood swings and hormonal cravings, and we try to get by most of the time, except when she expects me to read her mind. It's a constant point of our discussions initiated by her, because she feels I don't do stuff for her unless asked, which I disagree with. I bring her flowers, I will plan our dates, and I will give her a massage out of the blue when I'm feeling like I want to show my love for her. On the other hand, she expects me to have the clairvoyance to know she's craving a box of donuts when she calls me to work saying, I wish I had something sweet to eat. All the cookies are finished. Or I want to fix a chicken sandwich right now, but there's no patties left. You see where I'm at? She feels that this is her way of communicating things with me. And if I really loved her and knew her, I'd understand. I disagree with her and tell her she needs to be direct with me if she wants me to bring home something for her. This is followed by her disappointed look and heavy sighs. Recently, something similar happened and she got angry at me as to why I didn't offer to drive her to get some ice cream for her after dinner. This time, I didn't sit and listen to her blame me and told her if she's going to act like a child, maybe she's not equipped to be a mom yet. This must have cut deep, but I am honestly exhausted by her behavior, and I really don't want to put so much unnecessary pressure on myself. I want a partner. Pretty sure babies can't communicate with adults, and it's up to me as a dad to understand if they're crying because they are hungry or sick or uncomfortable. I don't want my partner who expects the same as a baby. Maybe the reason I don't prioritize what she says she wants is because honestly during the workday I have a lot in my mind. So anyone just venting to me or a simple text isn't something I retain in my memory for long. So after what I said, my wife just been giving me the silent treatment. And I'm not going to grovel when I know I've done nothing wrong. I simply ignored it. And it has been 3 days now and I've gone on about my day like nothing happened. Clearly, the lack of attention and concern for our negligible communication has an effect on her, and she's been demanding an explanation from me if I even care about our relationship. I told her that I'm not bothered if she's upset right now over something that shouldn't even be an issue, and I don't care about her validation anymore. She teared up, looked at me with shock, and went back to our room. Did I go too far? Now for the top comments. I think you guys need to focus on your communication, not who's right or wrong. You have different communication styles and that's okay, but you need to find a way that works for both of you. Your wife thinks she's being clear and you think she's not. That makes both of you angry. You need to address that without blame when she's calm and relaxed. The ideal is if you listen to each other without judging. Yeah, this is a mess, and it's not going to get easier once a screaming newborn is added in. If these guys want their marriage to survive, they need to get better at communicating. I think you both need couples therapy and learn how to communicate with each other. I agree, you're not a mind reader. Some people, mostly women I hate to say, are taught to not ask/state/demand what they want. That it's seen as not ladylike and downright rude. There seems to be a misunderstanding between you two on communicating your wants and needs. She is telling him what she needs without making demands, and he calls it mind reading. I had no problem understanding her. What's more alarming here is the aura of superiority and disdain beaming from OP's attitude towards his wife. She's the emotional one, she's the one with the communication issues and unfair demands, while he paints himself as level-headed and doing things for her, like planning dates, as if that's not a mutual task of mutual benefit. Everyone sucks here at best. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not informing my wife I surrendered my portion of inheritance left by my mom? Long story short, my mother has been battling dementia for around 12 years, and around 4 years ago, she needed more care than what myself and my siblings could reasonably provide. My parents were not exactly wealthy, but they did work hard their entire lives and they always had a goal to leave a legacy behind. My siblings wanted to split the cost of placement. At the time, I was not in the place to help fund her care without great sacrifice. So I told my siblings to take my portion of the estate to cover the cost, which includes the money my parents earmarked for each grandchild. I knew it was not going to be enough, but it was the least I could do. I did not tell my wife, because I did run a plan for my siblings by her. She also agreed we could not afford to take on the amount they wanted, which was around $3,000 a month. My mother passed away February of last year. Took this long to settle her estate, and my wife was upset when we did not get a portion of the estate. So I told my siblings to use my portion to cover my side of the expenses. She was livid. I did my best to explain that she agreed we could not afford to pay $3,000 a month, and we lived too far away to provide personal assistance, so I came up with a compromise. She felt it was not my place, since that money was also intended for our kid. I told her I see where she is coming from, but I was not going to take money away from my parents or siblings if I was not helping in some shape or form. Was I the a-hole here? Wait, your parents had money, but because it was planned for inheritance, you and your siblings were covering the cost of care instead of your mother, or whoever was managing her finances, just paying for it? Nah, the plan was for all of us to get together to pay for their care. I am the youngest and was not as established as my siblings. I could not afford to contribute. They could, but since I could not afford it, I gave up my portion of my inheritance. How much would your portion of the estate have been? How many months would you have had to pay $3,000? It was wrong of you to not tell your wife how this was going to go, but was a good compromise to do your part of your parents' care. No a-holes here. You wanted to do the right thing for your parents, but screwed up by not including your wife in the discussion. Your wife didn't appreciate a feeling this was somehow done behind her back. We just would have split it evenly among us. It was sizable, around $200,000, and she lived for around 4 years in her care facility. So largely a drop in the bucket. My $3,000 was also in the lower end because they knew I was not established. That is a fair take. My logic was I did tell my wife about the plan. She agreed we could not afford it. So what exactly would have changed if I told her I was giving up my inheritance? She already agreed we could not afford it. Until your mother died, it was her money, even if it was earmarked for your inheritance. Your mom apologizing for spending your inheritance makes her a good person. You saying you'd rather have her than her money makes you a good person. I see the apple does not fall far from the tree. Edit to clarify. I did not provide my whole life story since I did not think it was needed. I do agree I should have told her. I do not know why I did not tell her, and I am going to apologize for not telling her. As for why my siblings did not use her money, as far as I know, it was for tax reasons. Her assets were not liquid. I know the subject came up when it came time to pay for college because our mom got officially diagnosed when I was 14. She had early onset dementia. They were talking about selling some assets to cover my college costs. I told them it was not needed since I got a scholarship and worked to cover my living expenses. Our mother was cash poor. For as long as I can recall, my oldest sibling covered the majority of the household costs. I never really gave how much money my mother had much thought. I was also oblivious to the hell my siblings went through, shielding me from reality. That being said, the reason they did it the way they did was for tax reasons, and it was just easier that way. I do not know the details, and to be honest, I don't even care. I wish I could give them more because they gave me so much. I know it was painful for our mom to refer to them as strangers, but always lit up when she saw me. Yet she was at a lovely place she was because of them. I simply existed. End of the day, I do owe my wife an apology and I will do so. As for the money, that is the least I could do for all they have done for me. I can never repay them for all they did for me.